The history of the Office of Civic Engagement, Leadership, and Service got started back in 1995, to the best of my knowledge. I was not involved in the office at that time, so I've been asking people around campus that have been connected with it. Bridget Pregliasco had a vision for providing service learning training and resources for faculty. So when she decided to implement that office, she hired Elizabeth McNabb to do that. Elizabeth was in the position for 2 years, and then Kim Shaver came on in 1997. And then Kim was in that position for another 15 years, and she recently retired in May of 2012. When Kim was in the position, she spent most of her time providing and developing resources for faculty. But as the position evolved, the service learning resources came more out of the Office of Community Engagement, and Kim's office became more of kind of a community service focus. She implemented the Bonner Leader Program. America Reads came out of that office, and in 2000 she started coordinating alternative service breaks. In 2005 is when Michael Anthony graduated from his master's program in, I believe it was in higher education. Dr. Gifford, who was the vice president of student affairs at the time, had wanted to create a leadership office, so she decided that Michael was really a perfect fit to create that office, and so therefore she hired Michael to do that. So from 2005 to 2008, before I started in the position that I'm currently in with the office, Michael was really kind of the force behind developing the mission and the visions, the outcomes, the learning outcomes, and the name. So what the office is currently known as is the result of Michael's effort to really help to create this unified vision, because when Dr. Jackson came on board, he wanted service learning and leadership to be joined offices. So the leadership office was created, and then Michael was very instrumental in pulling the two spaces together, or the two offices together, and kind of defining a joint mission for what they do. And then when I came on board in 2008, I had the benefit of all of that already being established, and really being able to focus on the implementation of programs, new programs, and expanding the programs that were currently being done. The Office of Civic Engagement, Leadership, and Service, as it currently is, provides a number of different programs that are focused on leadership and community service, and obviously civic engagement, for all of the undergrads, and in fact many graduate students are very involved in our programs. We have, I think, a very a wide offering of first-year leadership programs, or what are also known as emerging leader programs. Freshman Lead is, of course, the best known of those, and one that has had great success. We are often turning away as many as 100 applicants for Freshman Lead. Recently, we've joined forces with SGA on their Task Force Freshman program, which is a leadership program that's really focused on students that have an interest in student government. And then the Leadership Quest is the third offering that got started as an experiment, really, in how we might be able to do a co-curricular learning, living learning community on campus. And so it was focused on students that lived on campus that wanted to be more engaged in leadership. And that program's evolved because there's just a lot of interest in the program from students all over campus that don't want to have to live in one place. And that's a non-application kind of a program. So I think that we have a really good variety of opportunities for first-year students. I've mentioned some of the service programs, but one I haven't talked about is SOUL. And that was another program that got created under Kim's leadership. And SOUL is Student Outreach Uniting Louisville, and it was originally created as a component of Welcome Week, or at the time Welcome Weekend. and it was an opportunity for students to get connected to the community through service and learn a little bit more about their new home in the city of Louisville. And I think maybe the first year there were 100 participants and maybe 5 or 6 different sites that they went to and did a wide variety of different service. And each year the numbers went up a little bit. Until this recent year, we had 500 students out in the community doing service and had to turn some students away because our numbers were just so big this year. So we really do anticipate that Soul is growing in a variety of ways and are trying to build the program to, potentially reach 1,000, 1,200 students in the next couple of years. The other thing that happened with Soul is we expanded it to weekend programming. So students could get excited about service during Welcome Week, and then we had some follow-up activities that they could do on a Saturday morning. And so over the last 4 or 5 years, we've planned maybe 3 or 4 different service projects each semester. All kinds of different things. They would be out in the community cleaning parks. They might be, doing a birthday party for kids at Brook Lawn. Just a wide variety of different things based on what the community had said they had some need for. And our students would then sign up for that. They might get service hours, whether they're Greek or Porter Scholars or Cardinal Covenant students. And we also started to partner with Homecoming, so there's now a traditional service project as part of Homecoming, and Soul is connected to Homecoming now. So there's been some really nice taking advantage of the brand that got created with Soul, the easily identifiable logo that students would recognize, T-shirts worn around campus, and tried to build on something that students were already really familiar with. So, and the next step in that metamorphosis, I think, is that those projects become more student-driven, that our students are determining what the projects are that other students want to do, planning those projects, working with the community, and using the staff and their knowledge of the community as guidance to help them with that. So I'm hopeful that in the next 5 years, that's where Soul will start to be housed within our student organization that plans service projects. So it's been a really interesting evolution of that program. I think one of the most significant, most dramatic changes that happened was the realization that we had as a staff that our task was to provide opportunities for a campus of 20,000 plus students with very few resources, very few staff, lots of ideas, lots of great energy, but it was a pretty monumental task to imagine that we could really touch all of the students on campus. As we started to attack that problem, we determined that students were the ones that were going to have to help us with that. And that was a good partnership because it provided so many more opportunities for students to take on leadership roles, get more training, be better developed when they were to leave the university because of that, a deeper involvement. It wasn't just participating in a service project, for example. It would be helping to plan that project and interact with the community agency. Same with the leadership programs, that it wasn't just participating in the program, it was also the opportunity to take on leadership for planning that program for other students. For example, the lead director program is an example of an evolution in the program where it was a full-time staff person and a graduate assistant that planned the program. And now we are at a place where we have 3 student directors that are alum of the program that are helping to formulate what is it that students really are interested in from their perspective, not just from the perspective of staff. But getting to I think our most significant achievement is the Engage, Lead, Serve board. And when we determined that students were really the people that could help us the most, we thought, well, let's ask the students what that would look like. So we pulled a group of very creative and enthusiastic students together and we were in Jerome's living room, I remember, and asked them questions about what would this be like, and how would you want to do it, and what would be some of the things you would want to accomplish, what would be your goals. And we had a really engaging conversation over that, very exciting. But the students really didn't know what to do after that. They didn't know how to follow up, and we kind of lost the momentum from that meeting. So we got back to the drawing board, and we sat and thought more about it, and realized that the students didn't really know where to start. And so I think we needed to help them create a starting place. And as a group then, we visited University of Kentucky. They're doing some pretty amazing things down the road, and there's no sense of us reinventing the wheel, so we went to our partners there and got to see the place that they work and learn about their programs. And in that process, we realized that they had a model of a group of students doing the programming that we wanted to have. We didn't really go there knowing that they had that, so it was this really amazing moment of kind of synchronicity that we all realized that you have the answer that we've been searching for. So we borrowed their applications, and we took their job descriptions, and we kind of modified those so that they would make sense for what we were trying to accomplish, and gave the students some starting place, a place to understand, well, what would I do, and how would I go about doing it. And from that, we found an executive director for the Engaged Lead Serve Board. She was in that position for 2 years. She helped us to, she ran the meetings, and she helped us to kind of set some of the structure that the group needed. What's the accountability? What does it look like to be part of the organization? And during that second year of her tenure, the president of SGA came to Jerome as their advisor and said, I'd really like to have service be an arm of SGA. And he said, so I'm thinking about putting a group together. And Jerome said, well, you might want to think about the Engaged Lead Serve Board being that group. And he said, I don't know what that is. And they got to talk about it. And he realized that Jerome was right, that the Engaged Lead Serve Board was exactly what he had been envisioning, would be the service branch of SGA. So that was very exciting, and certainly there was the hope and the promise of some funding that might come along with that, because the Engaged Lead Serve Board was functioning on a probably less than a shoestring budget, more like dental floss budget. And so we waited patiently to see what the future of that would be. And next thing we know, Curtis Frizzell was the president, and he was making a presentation to the Board of Trustees, not only increasing the funding for the Engaged Lead Serve Board, but also for a variety of other things like CPC and Student Activities Board and student travel. And it was all approved. And within a year, after only 2 years of existing, Engaged Lead Serve Board had $50,000, which they have been using this year in the first year of having that budget. So that's been a challenge, because they have had to develop a lot of things that probably they would have taken a little bit more time to do if they didn't have the pressure of now you are a representative of the Student Government Association. But we've had amazing leadership with Jessica Nelson as their executive director, and she's pulled together a really great leadership team who have certainly been very active this year. And they have a very large event that they're doing in April called The Buried Life. Well, actually the program's called Before I Die, and it's based on an MTV program called The Buried Life, which is a group of young people that have created a bucket list, and they help each other to achieve the things that they have on their bucket list that they want to do before they die. And so the Engaged Lead Serve Board is putting together this great campaign that kind of challenges students to tap into their passions. What are they interested in? what do they want to do before they die, and how can they start to achieve those things, but also help others to achieve those things. So it's not just about themselves, but it's about helping others, which is really one of the foundational components of the Engage, Lead, Serve Board. So I think when Jerome and I in particular look back at what's happened over the last 4 or 5 years, to see where this little seed of an idea started and where we are now with this group of students and their budget and the visions and the goals that they have, that's a pretty tremendous accomplishment, and is one of those things that we always talk about with building capacity. Well, we did that. We built the capacity, and now it's sustainable, and it will, as far as we can tell, be here long after we're gone, because there certainly does seem to be an energy from students around community service in particular, but leadership as well. So the Engage, Lead, Serve Board, I think, is one of those things that we'll both point to as a big accomplishment since we started. And I think a really big change for the department that has happened since both those programs merged together. When I think about the question of what's so special about our department, I have had many people say this to me, and I really believe that I have one of the best jobs at the university. And I think Jerome would say the same, Jerome being the coordinator of our leadership programs. We really do get to work with the best and the brightest students, the students that have such a clear vision of where they want to be and what they want their experience at UofL to look like, and helping us to mold our programming so that it stays current and relevant. And I think that when we started to talk about how do we make our mission something that isn't just jargon, but resonates with students, how can we do that? What would that sound like? And we looked at Yum Brands and the way that they do it. And their mission is plastered all over their break rooms and their hallways, and in wonderful, colorful cards, and it's written in a way that's very relatable. You don't have to have graduated with your master's degree in college student personnel to understand. So we reworked our mission statement in a way that focused on the things that we really felt like we were about, and we are about. Helping students find their passion. Certainly that's happening in the classroom. I absolutely believe that to be true. But what I think we do is complement that by providing opportunities for students to engage in that passion outside of the classroom. So practice their skills, develop their abilities, network, and really start to be more confident about what they have selected to do as a career through what they're practicing in their leadership and service experiences. We also have a very strong commitment to strengths. And when I came on board, one of the first things that I wanted to do was make sure that the staff were aware of what their talents and abilities are and how they work from that place. And that, I realized, became infectious. That we were so excited about learning about that we wanted all of our students to get that same experience. And it was a way to provide a unique opportunity for students when they were preparing to leave the university, or even within the university as they were looking for opportunities for internships or recognition or awards, for them to tap into what they knew about themselves from the perspective of strengths, and giving them an opportunity to learn the language, practice the language, observe that those strengths in action through their experiences and their leadership opportunities and other experiences outside the classroom. So I think that's also become a really unique or special thing about our program. And it ties everything together because leadership and service, we really believe, are not separate things. that a leader is a servant. And a good leader is always looking at how can I help to make my organization better, to help my members, that how do I use the organization to help improve the community. So leadership is really intricately connected to service and vice versa. So we think that that's also something that makes our area very special, is not separating those two things, that there's always going to be some kind of a connection of service and leadership and vice versa.